Alright, so this is going to be the first video of several that I'll be working on over the next week and a half. Um, so I'm prepping for alpha testing for my end. I'm just about done with everything on my side for my prop file and changes. Right now I am working on the documentation, so because there's obviously a lot involved, and these videos are going to be part of that. So this is going to be a demo of a single blade edit mode functionality. So there will be a separate video if you have more than one blade, and that's just because the menu system is actually a little different. But I'm going to run through edit mode, all the menus, explain everything, and then obviously all the documentation that's going to come along with this video with the actual alpha testing you're going to want to read through. So I know the questions are going to start. I don't have a specific date on alpha testing. I can say I'm nearly done with everything I have to do. In terms of the code side, doing the final test, making sure there's nothing I missed. Then I'll submit that to Frederick. While he's reviewing, I'm working on this documentation and these videos, so that when everything's past his requirements and everything's good to go from his end, and he's ready for alpha testing, I have everything that's going to need to go with it. There is going to be a lot of setup for edit mode. Edit mode is completely optional though, so it's going to be enabling edit mode is going to be a few steps. You're going to have a define in your config. At the start, you're going to need two buttons because my prop file is where it runs out of. The single button, I'm going to leave that to others to figure out how to do this stuff with single button. There is a lot of new controls, so there may be some limitations. And then your SD card is going to need to be set up a certain way, and your config and styles need to be set up a specific way. And that's because how edit mode operates, it obviously needs to have some guardrails. So all that's going to be part of the documentation, but specific alpha testing will be done once Frederick's happy with everything and ready to go. I will say I've gotten a lot of questions from people who want to be alpha testers, particularly with how much is coming in this OS. The alpha testing, if you want to volunteer, that's great, but expect you have to be really good with uploads. You have to really understand your config. You have to really be able to kind of understand what's going on in the styles, what all the different defines actually do, because there's going to be a lot of changes coming to make all this possible. The other piece of alpha testing that some people don't think about is if something's found in alpha testing by one user and gets reported, it's going to get fixed. And that means you're going to have to then switch gears and change right away to the new version. So there's a lot of version changes during alpha testing if stuff gets found. If everything works perfectly, not so much, but if you're kind of new or somewhat new or don't love uploading or have some difficulty with it, alpha testing is really not where you can help us out. I would just say wait. I know it's hard to be patient, but just the idea with alpha testing is to beat the heck out of the system. It's going to go through iterations, it's going to go through revisions, and people have to keep up with that to help test, because if somebody reports a problem, we change it, and then you test it and report the same problem, that's kind of a waste. You need to stay up to date during the whole process with all the changes and updates that are happening. And there'll be a thread on the Crucible that Frederick sets up and all that other stuff. But so if you're thinking about alpha testing and you're kind of new to Proffie, or you're not so great with uploading, or you don't quite understand everything a config's supposed to do, alpha testing isn't really where you can help with this process. Beta testing maybe a little bit, but I would say wait for full release. And I know it's hard to be patient, but let's go through. This is, again, single blade. So the menu system will be different if you have more than one blade. That also applies to if you have crystal chambers or accent LEDs. Anything with more than one blade would have a little bit different menu. This is single blades setup. So first and foremost, in my prop file, if you want to change presets, it's the aux button. So one click takes you through your presets. But if you want to go backwards, you just point down, press aux. Okay, and that's the normal operation. Now I've added the preset menu, so one of the nice things with edit mode is you're not going to be limited in presets. Technically, you are limited in styles based on memory, but you can make copies of presets exponential times over, so you could technically have 100 presets on your Saber if you wanted. If you want to scroll through all them with a button press, that's going to be annoying. So I did add the menu for presets. How you get to the menu for presets is a long hold and release on aux.
Select presets.
And then you can roll through.
This party's over.
Just by turning. Or you can go backwards by turning left.
This party's over.
and then when you get to the one you want, you just press power. So I'm staying on this one because this is the one I've set up for the video purposes. But so now you're going to have that. So the nice thing about having that menu is you can quickly get through any preset you want. So now to go into edit mode, it's going to be a long hold on both buttons. You're not going to let go of them. And what will happen is it'll ignite the saber and it'll say edit mode, and that's how you know you're in it. Now, this is part of the documentation, and I don't have it set up here. If you are missing the sound prompts required for edit mode, you're going to get an error in font directory only when you try to go to edit mode, and it's going to prevent you from going into it. That's because of how edit mode operates. Without the prompts, there's no way you know what's happening, and you could make changes to your saber and not even be aware of it. So if you don't have your SD card and your config set up properly, you can't actually go into edit mode even if you enable it, and that's more preventative. But so when you go in,
Edit mode.
so in edit mode, there's a multiple menu system. The controls for edit mode are the same no matter what menu you're in. It's going to be rotate right to go forward or up. It's going to be rotate left to go backward or down. The aux button is going to be to cancel, to revert, or to exit. And the power button is to accept, to save, or to select an option. And then there's also some spots where you're going to be prompted to confirm a selection. Confirm, again, right is going to be up. It's going to also be positive. It's going to be confirm. If you want to cancel or not confirm something, it would be turning left. So as I'm demonstrating, you'll see it, but all the controls are the same no matter what menu you're in. It's just what they do. So upper menu, I'm going to have all my up.
Exit.
Oops, that was exit.
Edit style.
So edit style is your first option.
Edit color.
Edit color.
Edit font.
Edit font.
Edit track.
Edit track. Now that's the default track on the preset. The track player actually can get to any track within the preset or within the font.
Edit settings.
So you can edit settings. There's a number of settings.
Copy preset.
So copy preset is what I just spoke about. We'll do that in a minute.
Delete preset.
So you can make as many copies as you want. If you have a copy you don't like, you can delete it.
Exit.
Or you can obviously exit, and that turns edit mode off. But let's go.
Edit style.
So edit style is going to let you choose from any style on the saber, and you're going to rotate through them. So we'll go in. So again, I got to edit style. To select to edit style, I'm going to press power. And now every time I turn the saber, it's going to be a different style from what's on the OS. So I can go through. I don't remember all of these. I've loaded up a bunch. So that looks like a slow fire. So it's whatever styles you have loaded, you can go through all of them. That's my smoke blade. That looks like an unstable pulse. So we're going to choose this one. So once you get to the one you want, you're going to press power. Now, if you don't want this and you want to just go back to your original one, you'll just press aux. Anytime you're in any menu, pressing aux reverts to what was previously saved. Once I hit save, this is now the revert. So you can't save something and then revert. You have to revert instead of saving. So if I pressed aux right now, it would go back to the original style that was set up. If I press save, that is now the style that's going to be on this preset. So now, this is something I know a lot of people have been talking about.
Edit color.
So edit color. This is very different than the color wheel. This is also very different than color change. So we're going to go into edit color.
Color menu.
So within the color menu, there's a number of options. So first,
color options.
We're going to look at the color options.
Select effect.
So this is the first piece of why color editing is different. Every effect that's been set up in the style, and there is a specific syntax you're going to do to your style to set this up, you're going to be able to choose the effects and edit the colors individually. Normally, color change in the color wheel, they just change all colors the same. So your blast, your clash, your lockups, your base color, everything is going to change at the same step. Color editing handles every effect individually, and when it says select effect, it's going to read what effects this style allows to be edited. So that's where the setting up your style comes into play. You could set it up so that the style only edits 2 or 3 colors, or you can set it up so it edits, I believe there's 15 colors possible, 15 slots possible. But this style only has a set number on them, so we'll roll through them. So
Base color.
So you have your base color, that's obviously your main color.
Blast color.
The blast color,
Clash color.
clash,
Lockup color.
lockup,
Drag color.
drag,
Lightning block color.
lightning block,
Stab color.
stab,
Ignition color.
ignition. So that's that power up. There's a white power up right now. You can change the color of that.
Retraction color.
Retraction color would be the cooldown,
Base color.
and then base color. So let's change my base color.
Select option.
So once you choose your effect, there's actually 4 different ways you can edit this color.
Color list.
So color list is new. I've just added this. Color list is actually a predefined list of colors that you like regularly. So instead of going through the color wheel, and this is what's been talked about recently, you can have a color list loaded. Now the list has to be loaded when you upload to the OS. You can't change it because it actually becomes part of the menu. But you can set it up with whatever colors you want. So I've got, the default one is 26 different colors. It's all your popular colors from the library, a few new custom colors, and then several different white silver colors just for like effects or if you wanted to for your blade. So let's go to the color list. So it's going to go through, so I've got red, and I've set these up in order, but these are all specific colors. And I know people want clicks. Mine has the sound right now is an up and down. And then this is a new color. This is a new indigo I've created. One of the new purples. Another new purple. Magenta, pink. And then this is a silver. That's kind of, I think that's like a light, really light blue. Light greenish. Light cyan. So there's a number of different colors all built in, and these are for not just the base color but also your effects. You're going to be able to choose these from. And that was white, but my battery's getting low, so it has a yellow tint to it. So I've been doing this video for a little bit. But so you can rotate to any of the colors you like. Let's get a green. And then save it. So if I press the aux button again, it's going to revert to what the original color was. If I press save.
Save color options.
So now that's my new base blade color. So now let's do
Adjust color hue.
adjust color hue is if I wanted to change this further. So let's show adjust color hue, and this also has a zoom on it. So color hue is more like the color wheel, but again it's specific to the base color. So the color hue works like the color wheel. Now it obviously goes all possible colors in a 360-degree turn, which gets a little tricky to get to very specific colors. So now, if you like a color that you rotate to in color hue, and also technically the color list, you just press the power button and it saves it. If you're trying to get to a specific color and it's really giving you a hard time hitting it, you can actually, there's a color zoom option in this. You're going to do a long press and release on power, and it'll make a zoom sound. So that was a zoom sound. And now what that does is it makes it so that you have to do larger steps to do the change. And that lets you zoom to a very specific color much easier because you're making really small changes with much larger movement. And particularly for rotating the hilt, that lets you get to those specific colors. And then when you get to what you want, you press power again to save it.
Save color options.
Alright, so, and then you can also
Adjust white level.
adjust white level. That's going to let me add white to this blade. So let's try that. So now you're going to rotate right to increase. So you'll see it'll start adding some white. And you can technically go all the way up to white. Or you can get anywhere in between. Or if you don't want to add any white, you'll just keep...
setting.
It'll say minimum setting. Minimum setting just means no white's being added. So that's your pure color.
Save
So I'm going to leave that.
options.
And then the last one is, say you want to make the color a little bit darker.
Adjust black level.
You're going to be in black level. Now obviously left is going to decrease, so black you want to decrease the brightness. So now the first 50% of black is almost not perceived by your eye, but it is dimming. But then all of a sudden, once you get around 50%, which is probably around here, it starts really dimming quickly.
Minimum setting.
And then there is a minimum setting, so you can't go below the minimum setting, which is somewhere, it's around 1%. It's just because we don't want the blade to go black, because black means off. but you can then brighten it back up. So you can hit any brightness level, any color level now with color editing.
Maximum setting.
And then maximum setting means there's no black applied, so that's your normal color.
Save color
And that
options.
gives you the option to do what you want to the color. Now let's go back up a level, so aux is going to take us back.
Cancel. Select effect.
So now I want to do a different effect, so let's choose,
Blast color.
so blast color. So let's choose the blast color.
Select option.
So again, you can use the color list.
Color list.
So we'll do the color list, and that's where I have those whites already built. And it's going to put the effect in the middle. Now it's not the real effect, and the style actually goes away because when we're editing colors, we actually need to save some memory. But you can rotate through the color list and find what color you want your effect to be. And it can be any of the ones you want, or you can use the color hue, or you can adjust the white level or the black level. But let's see what looks good. Kind of like that. I think that's one of my silvers. So I'm going to
Save color options.
So now that's my new blast. And then, again, you'll go up a level.
Cancel. Select effect. Clash color.
So you can edit your clash. And again, you can edit each of these effects individually, give them their unique colors, choose the colors, set the brightness, dim them, we'll do whatever you want. So that's color editing. So it's going to give you the stepped ability, where you can have your preset normal colors that you always use. Like I said, default I have 26 colors, which covers pretty much everything the library does and more. With some new custom colors. You can use the adjust color hue, you can use the zoom, so you can zoom into a color. So any possible color your NeoPixels are going to put out, you're going to have access to through color editing, and you're going to have a lot of options to do it. Let's go up a level.
Cancel color menu.
So we're going to go,
Cancel main menu.
so I'm in the main menu, so now let's take a look.
Edit font.
Edit font. So edit font is going to let you have all the fonts loaded on your SD card. You're not going to need to edit your config anymore to add them. Now this is just change fonts. Now the fonts do have to be formatted correctly on the SD card. If they're not, the menu can't see them. And there's some other requirements. But once it's set up correctly, you could just load a new font on your SD, go into edit mode, and choose that font for your preset. So let's choose. So now it's going to rotate through all the fonts that it finds. And so I turned a little too quickly. It's going to say the font.wave every time you change. Now sometimes that gets a little washed out with ignition, but this way you know what font you're looking at.
Deals in absolutes.
Your focus determines your reality.
So I'm in a green blade, so let's choose a Qui-Gon.
Save main menu.
So now you can save your font, and that just changes your font. And again, the fonts are going to be whatever it can find on the SD card. So you don't have to go in and put them in the config.
Edit track.
So now edit tracks. So tracks, again, just like fonts, they're going to have to be set up a specific way. The edit tracks function looks within the current font. So this is only setting the default track on the preset. Track player will let you get to any track on that preset based on the font. But if you want to change your default track, that's what this does. So when I go to edit, it's going to start playing whatever's set up. Now, this one could be from a different font because I've already changed the font. So when I go through the rotation, it's going to see what's in my current Qui-Gon font. So obviously Qui-Gon, let's do that one. So you hit save.
Save main menu.
So that set up that default track. The other tracks within that font are still going to be accessible to the track player. Track player looks at the font that's active. It doesn't use edit mode.
Edit settings.
So now, edit settings. So edit settings has a lot of features in it, so we'll go through them.
Select option.
So first,
Edit volume.
so you can edit the volume. I'm not going to touch the volume right now, but you can edit the volume. Now the volume is going to have a max. The max is going to be set at whatever's in your config, so you're going to want to set that at whatever the maximum is. We don't go above that with edit volume just because we don't want to damage the speaker.
Edit style settings.
So style settings, this is another one. Your style has to be set up to work with it, but you can edit a number of different settings within this style.
Select option.
So we've got,
Ignition options.
so you can select from different ignition options, which I'll show in a second. I'm actually going to change the time first. So,
Retraction options.
oops, I skipped.
Ignition time.
I went too fast. That's ignition time. So let's change ignition time. So now every time I go turn it up, it's going to increase by 100 milliseconds. I can turn it down by 100 milliseconds. If you turn it all the way down to 0, it's going to say auto. What auto does is that uses Obi-Rob Kenobi's wavelength function. So auto will time your ignition or your retraction or whatever you choose to the wavelength itself. But so let's go, and it's going to show you how long that ignition's taking. So that looked pretty good for this font. So you're going to save it.
Save style settings.
So now let's change what the ignition does. So that's a regular wipe.
Ignition options.
So ignition options, again, these have to be built into the style correctly. So now that's a center in. That's a center out. That was a spark tip wipe. That was a wipe in. That's a color cycle. That's a regular wipe. And then the center in again. So you can set up several different ignition options for your styles and then choose them. Let's keep that one. So we're going to do the center out, so I'm going to save it.
Save style settings.
So now I've changed my ignition option. So the nice thing is you can make different copies of all your presets. And if you have the styles built, you can change the colors for all the effects, everything like that. You can change your ignition option. We can also change
ignition time.
Ignition time we did.
Retraction option.
You can change your retraction options, again, if they're built in the style.
Retraction time.
Retraction time as well. And retraction time can also be set to auto, which uses a wavelength.
Drag size.
So drag size, we can set that.
Ignition options.
Oops. I went past something.
Ignition time. Retraction options. Retraction time. Clash lockup position.
That's what I went past. I'm turning too quickly. So clash lockup position. So this works, and drag size works similarly. So this is going to be the center. So basically, if you have a responsive lockup or responsive clash, this will be the center of that effect, and then it will still move. Now this effect doesn't move because it's setting, but you can change it where the center of your clash and lockup will be. So if you don't like where it's appearing on the blade, you can adjust it.
Save style settings.
And save it. And then there's also
drag size.
So drag size. And I think that's all that's been set up on this preset. Yeah, so this preset only has those options. You can also set up your emitter size, which is an emitter effect. You can set up your pre-on size if the style hole has it. Post-off size. There's several other options. It reads what's in that style. So this style only had the 4 or 5 options. You can set up, I believe there's 8 possible. So again, it'll be in the documentation on the way up. But let's go.
Cancel settings menu.
So now we'll go settings.
Edit control settings.
So edit control settings. This is where you can set all of your gestures.
Select option.
So we can go
thrust ignition.
Thrust ignition.
Stab ignition.
Stab ignition.
Force push.
Force push.
Force push length.
Force push length.
Twist retraction.
Twist retraction.
Lockup delay.
Lockup delay, that's part of battle mode.
Power lock.
Power lock disables your power button and makes it so you have to hold both buttons to turn off your blade.
Swing ignition.
Your swing ignition if you want to enable or disable. So all the gestures are enable or disable, and then there's also
swing on speed.
Swing on speed, so you can increase or decrease the speed. So I'll show you like
swing ignition.
So if you want to say mine's enabled, if I want to disable swing ignition.
Enabled.
So it tells me that it's enabled. If I want to disable it, I'm going to turn left.
Disable.
If I want to enable it, I'm going to turn right.
Enable.
So you can change the settings. Now it's going to tell you when you go in if it's enabled or disabled. So I'm going to keep it enabled.
Save gesture menu.
So now you can keep changing your gestures. So if you don't like one thing or you want to change it or you want to change the settings, that's under the control options.
Cancel settings menu. Edit style settings.
So we did style settings.
Edit control settings. Edit clash threshold.
So you can edit your clash threshold now from here, and that's going to go up or down, again, turning right to increase it, turning down to decrease it. If you increase your clash threshold, that means it has to take a harder hit to trigger. So if your clash sensitivity is a little too low, you can just edit it in edit mode instead of having to go do a new config.
Edit blade length.
So edit blade length. So this will be kind of like volume. You have to set a maximum. So in your config, blade config, you're going to set up what the maximum number of pixels can be. But then, so this is set correctly, but it can go a little higher.
Maximum setting.
But it has a maximum. So if you set your maximum at, like, say 130, and then you get a blade with 132 pixels, it can't go above 130. It has a maximum, but you can go smaller. So for those of you who use a lot of different blades on your sabers, you're going to want to set it at whatever the longest blade you expect is, and then you would pull it down. So what happens is there should be a white flashing pixel at the tip, but there isn't, because right now I'm beyond what this blade length is. So you're going to rotate left to decrease, and now I've got that white flashing pixel. If I want to go, but you can keep decreasing, but obviously now I'm leaving my blade short, but there's always going to be one pixel flashing in white. It's a little easier to see in person. I think the camera may wash it out a little bit, but you're going to want that to always be at the tip. And then if you go too far and you don't see the white anymore, you come back one pixel and then save.
Save main menu.
So that sets up your pixels, or sets up your blade length.
Edit track.
Oops, let me go back to...
Edit settings. Copy preset.
Oh, so copy preset. So now, let's make a copy of this preset. So say I have this preset and I love it, but I love this style. I just want to do a different font and maybe some different colors on it. We're going to go to copy preset. So we're going to hit power.
Confirm.
So now, anytime it asks you to confirm, you're going to turn right to accept. You're going to turn left to cancel.
Accept.
So turning right accepts it, and then you press power. And now I've just made a copy of that exact preset. So now I have a copy of that preset I made. If I wanted to, I can change the font on this again and have a new preset with a new font, and I can change the colors and everything else again. So, and you can keep doing copy preset as many times as you want. So let's change the font on this one.
Edit settings. Copy preset. Delete preset. Edit style. Edit color.
So let's do a new color on this one.
Color menu. Color options. Select effect. Last color. Base color. Select option. Color list.
And this is the color list. Let's just get to a different color. Do like a blue, or maybe a purple. Yeah, blue's good.
Save color options.
So I've got a copy of that preset. Now I have one in green, and I have one in blue. Now, let's go...
Cancel. Select effect. Cancel color menu. Cancel main menu. Edit font.
Let's change the font, because I did a blue. So I've got an Obi-Wan.
I will do what I must.
Save main menu.
So now I've got my exact same copy, but I've got a green version with a Qui-Gon font. I've got a blue version with an Obi-Wan font, and you can go through everything. So I could change the blast colors again, the clashes, the lockups. I can change the ignition. I can change the timings. You can also change all the other settings that are set up on this, and you can keep making copies. So it just lets you add to the number of presets you have. Now, the documentation is going to cover everything. Trying to go through in a video, I'm actually losing track of what I wanted to show. The style settings in particular, there's a lot of style settings you can do. The control settings, there's a lot of settings in there. So those will be more in the write-up. But basically, the biggest thing is the controls are going to always be the same. You're going to use rotating right to go up or positive or confirm. You're going to go turn left to decrease, go negative or subtract, or cancel. And then your power button is always going to be to select, to save, or to enter. And then your aux button is going to always be to cancel, to revert, or to exit. And that's no matter what menu you're in. And it's always going to tell you what menu you're at, so you're just going to listen to your prompts. And of course, thank you to Brian. He has helped with all the sound prompts. So that's going to be something. Now, those will be made available for alpha testing and also once this releases. So that's thanks to Brian Connor, No Sloppy. So getting the rest of this documentation done, going to do a bunch more videos, get everything submitted, and we'll be off and running. But so much more to come. I know there's going to be a ton of questions. I'm going to try to answer them. But a specific ETA, specific date, I don't have that yet, but I can